Fly with us this week as we drop into one of the top pilot schools in Western Canada, International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley. Good evening and welcome to Red's Classic Theater from the Langley Municipal Airport. International Aeroflight and Heliflight is the largest charter and training school in Western Canada. It's so well known that students come here from Sri Lanka and Japan to train. And we'll show you around the facility throughout the program. Our movie this week is the 1953 production, The Desert Rats, starring Richard Burton, Robert Newton, and James Mason. The picture, just Richard Burton's third in the U.S., was filmed in Palm Springs, California, which substituted for North Africa. Burton, a big fan of James Mason, was thrilled to find himself in the same movie with a talented actor, even though Mason appeared in just a few scenes. More about the movie later. Here's Act One of The Desert Rats, starring Richard Burton and featuring James Mason. We're flying high on Red's Classic Theater tonight, visiting International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley. The company began in 1977 with instruction and helicopter training and added fixed wing training in 1987. International Aeroflight maintains a fleet of 6 Cessna 152 and 172 planes and 7 helicopters and a choice of models and types. Company officials are also proud of the school's safety record. They've never recorded a student accident or injury in 15 years of operation. An important reason for that is the extensive ground school courses that form part of the pilot training. As instructors point out, a better understanding on the ground makes for a better performance in the air. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Another feature of the training at International Aeroflight and Heliflight is this helicopter flight simulator. Now nearing the final stages of assembly, the simulator allows students to fly to any destination and practice reading instruments without ever leaving the ground. It's all part of the effort here to make you the best pilot you can be. Now, if you'd like information on flying lessons, call International Aeroflight and Heliflight at 530-3812. That's 530-3812. And now back to The Desert Rats, starring Richard Burton. Hope you're enjoying The Desert Rats on Red's Classic Theaters. We come to you from the International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley. James Mason's role in tonight's movie was held to a few brief scenes for a very interesting reason. In 1951, James Mason starred in The Desert Fox, a full-blown account of General Rommel's brilliant wartime episodes. But tonight's picture was supposed to be the British side of the story, so Mason's part was drastically reduced. Still, he was anxious to appear in The Desert Rats, even if his screen time was cut to bare minutes. He felt that if he'd failed to play Rommel again, the studio might hire a real German actor, and his original performance would seem weak by comparison. But there was another reason that James Mason was committed to working in the U.S. Years earlier, he and his wife had become U.S. citizens. The British public and press felt snubbed, so for Mason there was no going home. Now let's return to The Desert Rats, starring Richard Burton and featuring James Mason. From International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley, it's time to look at our mailbag. And please continue to send in those cards and letters, as Lawrence Welk says. Our first request is from Fred Pells in Burnaby, who would like to see The Good Earth, starring Paul Muni and Louise Rayner. And Richard and Rita Hesketh from Chilliwack would like to see The Razor's Edge, starring Tyrone Power and Gene Tierney. Earl and Laureen Moe from Surrey requested Ship of Fools. Now, this movie stars Simone Signoret and Oscar Werner. Now, if there's a motion picture you'd like to see or the suggestion of a location, write to Red Robinson, Red's Classic Theater, Television 12 in Vancouver. Now, join us next week for Dana Andrews and Susan Hayward in the World War II romance My Foolish Heart. And 2 weeks from tonight, great comedy and adventure with Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Catherine Ross in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And now, back to The Desert Rats on Red's Classic Theater. Richard Burton is starring in The Desert Rats on Red's Classic Theater as we visit International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley. While tonight's movie was being filmed, 20th Century Fox offered Richard Burton an incredible deal. Movie mogul Darryl Zanuck offered him a 7-picture, 7-year deal worth $1 million, plus percentages of gross receipts. Now, to put that in perspective, imagine a young, unknown actor today being offered between $12 and $15 million. Burton had come from an extremely poor Welsh mining family, and he knew what that kind of money could do for him, yet he turned Zanuck down. Burton had promised to return to London's Old Vic Theatre to perform in Shakespeare's Hamlet for about $150 a week, and he was sticking to his promise. His integrity landed Burton in court, where Zanuck and the studio tried to sue him for breach of contract, but failed. And in the end, Richard Burton did get his $1 million contract that tied him to the studio for as many good movies as bad ones. And now let's return to Richard Burton starring in The Desert Rats. From International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley, it's time for our weekly movie trivia quiz. Although James Mason never won an Academy Award, he was nominated once as Best Actor and twice as Best Supporting Actor. Our trivia question, can you name any of the movies for which he was nominated? We'll be back with the answer in just a moment. Here's the answer to our movie trivia quiz. James Mason was nominated as Best Actor in the 1954 movie A Star is Born, and as Best Supporting Actor in Georgie Girl, and again in The Verdict. And now back to The Desert Rats. From the Langley Municipal Airport, it's a wrap for this week's edition of Red's Classic Theater, and I hope you enjoyed The Desert Rats starring Richard Burton and James Mason. Be sure to join us next Sunday night on Red's Classic Theater for the 1949 classic romance, My Foolish Heart. It stars Dana Andrews and Susan Hayward. In the meantime, if you have a suggestion of a movie or a location, be sure to write to Red Robinson Television 12 in Vancouver. We'd like to thank the folks at International Aeroflight and Heliflight in Langley for their cooperation and hosting the program. And in particular, Peter Cox, who's the chief pilot. And by the way, if you want to come out for a sightseeing tour on a plane or a helicopter, give Peter a call in Langley at 530-3812. That's 530-3812. Join us next Sunday night on Red's Classic Theater at 9 o'clock for My Foolish Heart, starring Dana Andrews. Until then, thank you for being with us, and good night, everybody.